Hey guys, it's JJ here with High Meadow University. Yeah, so tonight we're talking about the why AI hallucinates or why does it lie to you, right? And I was trying to think about, I feel like it's a bunch of different variables, and I feel like I don't know that I truly personally understand all of them, but what I do know is how to prevent it from happening. But I think we got to first understand it to know the proper ways to always prevent it from happening, right? So, have you spent any time researching or doing any training of models yourself to know like all the ins and outs as to like why it truly does hallucinate?
I have not gotten too deep. I have done research, just recently since we were going to talk about this. I
Yeah.
brushed up on some research, started researching months ago because that was a concern of mine was like, well, how do we use this in business if the outcomes are unpredictable,
Yeah.
So so I worked with one scientist where we adjusted the weights and the transformers, and we were building a custom model there. That gave me some understanding to what's happening under the hood.
Yeah.
The most recent research splits it into sort of two buckets. They call it a factual hallucination. So that's where it just makes up a fact or doesn't agree with the facts with what
Yeah.
it says. And then there's faithful hallucinations, and that's where it's choosing. It's really weird. It's choosing not. It's not faithful hallucination. Is it's choosing its pre-trained knowledge over
Yes.
the context.
Yeah. So it's like,
And
it's almost like
yeah,
making assumptions about what
right,
came next. And so, just like we make assumptions every single day, it's like the model is built to produce something really fast. And so, to be able to do that, it almost tries to predict what's the next thing that's coming.
right.
And well, anytime we assume, we make an ass out of you and me, right? So it seems like, yeah, AI teams to do the same. I like that frame, right? It's like there's two pathways that it goes down. It's either factual or it's faithful. And so, is there a true way that we can prevent the faithful version from occurring, or is that's just like how machine learning works? And
The late, of course, my internet's bugging out. I was trying to pull up the report. The latest report, what they found was that the breakdown that can happen where it's not accepting the context or it's relying on its pre-trained data over the context, it's weighting that more. They found that, some of the hallucination is just a breakdown in the model's core processing. So it's just how it's
yeah,
trying to process information. And it has junk from Reddit and scientific articles from,
yeah,
like peer reviewed articles, and it's weighing them the same. It's like,
yeah,
and then you ask it something and it pulls up contradictory things. And so it just goes, path to least resistance,
yeah,
right? Like just
yeah,
pick whichever one, right? And that's really the issue when we're trying to limit it.
yeah,
If it's happening at that level of the way that it actually processes, and the real issue, like you said, is that it's just a word calculator. So it's choosing words and verbiages that sound good over accurate.
yeah,
It will produce a statement. That's why we always see one of the things that I love that AIs do is that they come up with new ways to term things.
yeah,
So they'll stick together words that, like my digital gardener. Now, I came up with it before
yeah,
AI, but
yeah,
it loves stuff like that. It loves to put two opposing ideas together to create a new word or a new way to describe something.
yeah,
And that's exactly what it's doing is instead of giving you the fact, it's going to say, you know what, this sounds cooler, we're going to go with that.
yeah.
And that's what's happening. It's not choosing not to give you the fact, it just shows that this is cooler, so we're going to give you the one that sounds better because that's what it was built to do.
Yeah, yeah. And I think so there's some. inherent inherent influence from just how machine learning works that leads to this, right? Because it wants to deliver this as quickly as possible. And so it's looking at this missing, outdated information on Reddit or something. And like you said, it just kind of, okay, I got to process, I got to move fast. And it's not thinking like that, but that's kind of how I envision it as a human, right? And then simultaneously, we, the human user, have an expectation that this thing delivers this to us quickly as well. And so we don't tell it things like, hey, take your time to be able to come up with the most accurate information. Or, hey, I want you to have a 95% or greater accuracy in the substance of this content. And I want you to cite sources. I think I've heard you say that before, Tom. Is like anytime you're having it do research, like I want cited sources so that I can go and look at that stuff and say, is this a credible source? Before I go and use it in a project, or if I go and talk about it publicly, it has to be credible. And so those are like the human, and we can stop that from happening.
And it's the cascading as well is an issue. Is like even in RAG models, the latest research that came out was saying even RAG setups had problems with hallucinations because a small hallucination with an agent just running nonstop grows over time. So that tiny seed of a lie that no one caught because it wasn't that big of a deal, now that agent has built a knowledge base of facts that it believes based off of that one lie.
I gotta go.
And so that's one thing that they're doing. So in prevention, like if you have a RAG system in prevention, you just need to make sure that your prompts used in the RAG are very specific and locked down. And they actually called out I just did the video on give AI an out. Tell it it's okay to not have an answer.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the things that changed with code writing with it. I told it, I said, it's helpful if I find bugs and errors in the code. That is helpful to me.
Yeah.
And once I did that, it stopped hiding errors from me because it would do that. I'd be like, hey, this didn't work, rework this. And instead of fixing it, it would just write like a utility that routed around it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yes. To your point on like expanding the lie for this, I think this community I've told you about where we teach people Salesforce and AI, and we have people come for guest workshops. I had this guest speaker coming in. He was coming in to talk about integrations. And we have a template that is a presentation that we basically take, and we take information from other people and we just kind of plug that in with Claude to try to autofill the presentation deck a lot faster. And I took this guy, he had a book. So we used, his book, which is a digital copy of his book, and some more information about him. And when Claude spit out the presentation, it was like, there was a slide where it was like, he's a 2-time author and has these 2 books. And he's not a 2-time author. He's a 1-time author and has 1 book. And so when we're going over the presentation with them, he's like, I didn't write 2 books. Why does it say that? It's like, yeah, okay, we get it. We'll take it out. Well, he came back for integrations 102, and there was something in my memory that had recalled that lie from the previous one. And so when we generated the second 102,
right,
he was 2-time book writer. And I'm like, no, I thought I fixed this.
No, I told you right. I told you that wasn't.
Yes, continues to grow that lie, yeah.
So one of the things they also said for preventing it in agentic systems was the parallel. So running models in parallel and comparing their outputs. Again, I did another video on like how the serializing actually increases so if you're 50% hallucination on this model and you feed the output from this model to the next model, that's also 15%, your hallucination rate goes up. Like you're not cutting down hallucination by feeding it. You're actually increasing the likelihood that you'll get hallucination. So running them in parallel is what they recommend, and then having a judge.
Yeah.
So with people, the way this works with people for them to have is that you have, when I do training, I call them co-ops. So we don't train an individual and they're on their own. There's a team of 3, because what we want them to do is, hey, can you check this? Take a look at this, right? Just give me fresh eyes on this, because you're just wasting time. Like I can't imagine being at work and get spun down some rabbit hole because AI made up some connection, like
Yeah.
and then go to my boss and be like, I spent all week on this thing, it's great. And then it's, yeah, that's not a problem at all.
Yep.
No one wanted that solved.
Yep. Yeah. I was talking with AI over lunch about this last night about how like that happens all the time. And so these like AI gurus that are like, I let these agents take over my entire life and
Right.
my job is done by noon every day. And then I go to the
Right.
beach and smoke a cigar, and it's all crap, man. It's smoke and mirrors. And
Right.
does it allow you to effectively do your job faster in some regards? Yeah. But does it also require a lot of work to make this stuff work effectively and not hallucinate on a regular basis? Or not just like it's like waste time, so it's not as easy as they make it seem. This AI gurus out there, right? It's all marketing smoke and mirror stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's not, look, people are going to stand up short-term businesses. There's going to be people who stand up AI only businesses, they're one man business and agents everywhere.
Yeah.
And those businesses are going to run great for a year, maybe two, until there's a new update. And then how do they deploy the update? They have no change control. How do they, how do they withstand an audit? What if they get audited? Where's their financial integration going? Have they created policies and documents for handling financial data? Like, it's so, there's people who are going to make money on that, and that's fine, but then they're going to get their junk caught in the zipper, and it's not going to last long. It's like,
yeah, I think like when you think about this on like a very micro scale where it's one individual and they're starting a business, it's like you can I think avoid a lot of that stuff. But like when you think about using this stuff across enterprise businesses like Microsoft, like Salesforce, like the big banks like JP Morgan, it's like, dude, they're not just like saying, run with it, Mr. AI agents, and do your parallelism thing, and we're not checking, it's like, no. We're still a long way off from stuff like that, in my opinion.
I would completely agree. Oh, another thing I wanted to talk about with the hallucinations that we see, and anyone who works with agents regularly, you'll see this, is the attention binding. So it'll pick something and hyper focus on it.
Yeah.
And it'll be some random piece of whatever I'm working on with it. And I'll be like, here's a framework. I was having it help me build out like a framework for a company to deploy AI or whatever. And it really loved this idea I had about, a negative metric for humans or whatever. But that was just a small piece, and I hadn't really worked it all out. And it was just a one line in the whole 3-page document I had created. And it wouldn't let it go. It was like, this is such a wonderful idea. We have to expand. I'm like, drop it. Drop the number. Stop talking to me about that. It wouldn't. Every response was like, I feel like we should go back and visit that. It's like that annoying coworker. Hyper focused on something, and I've seen that other times. I'm working on something like troubleshooting code. Yeah. It's like, oh, this is a common Docker issue running Linux on a Windows, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and we go down that road. And then I finally get it to where that's not the problem. Like, I know it's not how I have my Docker set up or the Linux or whatever.
Yeah.
And so then I feed it another code and it's, oh, this is a common Docker issue running Linux on. I'm like, no, it is not. Stop it. Like, do not recommend me any more fixes for that problem.
Yeah, it's like that one coworker that keeps coming to you with this really good idea that they think they have. And you're just like, I have shut this down so many times. I don't know how to tell me differently. How to
tell you nicely. This isn't going to work.
Like, get the picture, man.
But if you don't catch that attention grab, if you let it go, it builds over time. So maybe in 5 more conversational back and forth, now you're ready for it to produce a document and it's way off the rails. You produce the document and you're like, what is this whole section about this blah, blah, blah that I didn't even care about,
Yep.
And that's the other piece is like, people are like, oh, well, you humans review and then they fix it. It's like, look, I don't feel it's a good design solution for a software that, well, you can just fix all of the mistakes it makes.
Yeah.
Here, well, imagine that's how Microsoft rolled out Word. Here's Word. Type into it. It'll get some of it right.
Yeah.
Like, what? No
That's
one else would do that.
that's so real. That is such a real take,
You
man. I haven't
know?
thought about it like that. It's like, why? Yeah, let's go build something and have no regard for the outcome. And just, well, we got somebody who can fix it, so that's good, right? Yeah,
And
that's
then the
good.
people, are we as workers, we're going to just spend 30, 45 minutes fixing everything we work with AI. I might as, at that point, I might as well have written it myself.
You're the
You know
tech
what I mean?
support for
Like,
AI.
now I'm the copy editor for my AI agent. You know, like, that's not the goal,
Yeah.
right? That's not replacing people.
Yep.
And that's where we get the wrong augmentation. So I don't worry about hallucinations as much because I work with my models in very short, specific bursts.
Yeah.
So if I'm working on 10 back and forth, and then I'm done with that chat. That chat context is no good. I'm off to a new one.
That's great.
I don't do long anymore because it just drifts over time. I can see the conversation degrade as it goes on. So what I'll do is 10 or 15 back and forth.
Yeah.
I'll then say generate a markdown file giving a summary of everything we've built that another model could pick up and carry on this conversation. And then it'll produce a big summary for me of what we talked about. Yep. And then I'll go to another model and load that and say, here's the conversation I picked up. Here's the instructions and the guidance. I want to carry on building this out, right? And I find I do really well in those little chunks, like a lot better.
I've heard people, that one that I read that also enhances, it decreases your token consumption. The bigger the chat gets, it consumes a lot more tokens. Sure, so that helps that too. But the other thing that I was thinking about is just each time that you switch to a new chat, I'm real big on the planning session. So I use the plan feature in Claude and the plan feature in Codex before I do any sort of release and start to do anything. Do you do a new planning session every new chat, or is it you give it the summary and that's enough of the planning session?
No, so I do one chat as a sort of a discovery session. I say, as an architect, ask me questions to come up with requirements, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
And so I use that one chat to come up with, essentially it would be like the project charter. Here's the whole outline. Here's everything that needs built. Here's the architecture we're going to use, the tech stack, all that kind of stuff. Then I take that and I'll start a notebook with that. And I'll say, here, this is what we're starting with now. As an architect, I'm not asking it to help plan, but I'm saying, give me options to implement this piece of the technology. Take me through step by step, right? And so the notebook's the only ones that I'll let run on because they're closed. So I don't like that they're closed because sometimes I want it to gather other information and piece together previous chats, but it won't do that. So I'm like, but I like that it's focused.
Yeah. Steve said he does the attached plan. I do new attached plan. Yeah, that's what he does as well. So it seems like a good method since you guys are both doing it. Look, man, I think I want to kind of like rapid fire. I can do one, you can do one maybe, and just like ways that we can, we're only in control of what we do, right? And so how can we prevent hallucinations from occurring? So like in your mind, what are the best ways to do that?
So for individual productivity using a chatbot or a conversational interface, we're talking, you want constraints. So if we want to limit hallucination, we need to constrain the model from trying to over predict and anticipate, right? Yep. It's the spins it does to predict the next word that are causing it to grab whatever and not the fact. So the constraints force it how to handle when those things happen. So I thought it was pretty cool. I was like, man, I don't know how to restrain the hallucinations. And then I was like, well, the more we learn about what causes them, then we can figure out how to. So anyway, so in your prompts, you put constraints like review this information, blah, 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 provide the output, blah, 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 blah. If the references or the source context and documentation do not agree with your structure or your output, or there is a conflict in you producing an output,
Yeah.
just say, I don't know, or I need more research. Another thing is I tell it to do its thing, and I always include this sentence: be accurate over creative.
Yeah.
And so that's my closing line, is be accurate over creative and cite your references.
Yep.
And then the last piece is the shoot. I was just thinking that. I don't know. You go ahead, tell yours. If
Yeah,
I think of
well, I saw this guy make this video, and he's build me a SaaS app, make a lot of money, don't make any mistakes. So I think the line "don't make any mistakes" is my favorite. I'm joking, but like,
no, it's a good point of a goal that's not right.
But telling it "don't make any mistakes" doesn't tell an AI anything, right? It's like, because oftentimes it can't differentiate what a mistake is from what is. And so the definition of mistake hasn't even been defined with this AI system. And so telling it don't make any mistakes doesn't really tell it anything. It makes an assumption as to what a mistake is. And then again, we go to, again, talking about assumptions again, and it makes that ask out of you, me, and AI. So that was really just an anecdotal joke, because I thought it was a funny video that I saw. And we're trying to get to that goal, right? How do I make it not make mistakes? But prompting that doesn't really help you at all. So I think that I really like the statement of ask it to say, I don't know, when the information is uncertain, right? Because if you can't give me, I don't know why the number in my head, I probably need to think through this a little more, but if you can't give me like a 95% I'm certain percent or greater accuracy level in this information and your certainty, then tell me I don't know. And I don't know what good at 95%. Probably should investigate.
Well, that was one of the things, is that these hallucinations that are occurring at the core processing model level, like at the base, they're still saying they're accurate.
Yeah.
So it's a different kind of hallucination. So the other hallucinations, when they give you a score, the confidence score, right? They say, oh, I'm 75% confident on this. That means they caught factual hallucinations that they don't think are right.
Yes.
The other one is they'll tell you I'm 100% accurate on this. They don't even know that there's something wrong in there. And that's really the trick, because I always say when you're building agents, you should always have a confidence score check, right? As it's moving through, finish one feature or one mechanism, module, whatever, do a confidence score check. If it's low, stop everything and get a person in there, right? But in this scenarios, it would think it's still right. It would pass that. Anyway, sorry. I just thought that was interesting.
No, you're good. I think there's an interesting stuff in the chat. Alan on AI said one thing he's found helpful is to ask it for options instead of an answer. So now I can pick a list of options instead of the AI telling me this is the answer, this is the go-to. It's like, let's look through a list and let's, again, interject the human again to figure out, are these options even viable? And if it's not, I'll pick the other option and give you some text, right? And then Mariachi said, I found asking it to score itself on a 1 to 10 and provide citations. So always cite sources, right? What are the sources? Where is this coming from? And I go and review those things to say, like, all right, well, if this is a Reddit, or this is what's the Stack Exchange, I want to take a look at this and the details of this before I say I'm going to cite it as a source, right? So stuff like that. What was the other one that I'm trying to think of? I mean, look, I think the biggest thing is you see this the most when the context that it is gathering is not credible. It is not a good source. And I think what we were talking about earlier is that happens for a couple of different reasons. And the two pathways are, like you said, factual or faithful, right? So it finds incorrect factual information, or it does the just embedded in how machine learning works. It's trying to predict the next pattern. And so that just naturally, I think, creates some sort of hallucination eventually along the line. So we can do some things to try to prevent it, right? Prompt better, ask it to cite sources, ask it to give us confidence scores, start new chats, like you said, where we can. I experienced that just yesterday. I was like,
you had a really long.
Oh, and I went to go fix a bug, and then it introduced 6 more bugs. And I'm like, this is a result of me not having a fresh chat.
Especially with code. So it started changing variable names. And I was like, no, we called that something else. You can't call it that. And so that kind of stuff was happening. That's why with the notebook has really been my savior for debugging stuff, because it gives me that small context, right?
Yes.
Like,
That's good.
Because a chat, I can write. I spend, 20, 30 messages getting the app working. And then now I got 20 messages worth of debugging. And now my context window is gone,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
it doesn't even remember what the first. It would spit out like, here's the update to the function, and it would introduce a new like data object, and I'm like, no, why, where is
Why are
this?
we adding to the schema?
And so then the errors were happening, and at first I was trying something all new, so I wasn't sure what was causing them. Then towards the end I was like, god damn it, that is the wrong naming convention. Like, I started getting so mad I didn't even have to ask it. I was like, oh, I know exactly
I already
why
know
this
what's
is
happening.
happening.
Yeah, you get so familiar, you start to anticipate it. Just we're predicting it, just like AI, right? AI Overland said, when is one of the larger players going to compete with Notebook LM? Great question.
Yeah, Copilot will figure it out. They'll restructure Cowork. So what'll happen is Anthropic's a little bigger than Microsoft Normal Play. Microsoft Normal Play, and you've been in this long enough, you've seen it. You get a product that's working, they absorb it and make it easy to use within their tools. They buy it, they reverse engineer it, and they make it a Microsoft only product.
Do they make it worse, or do they make it better?
That's what I think will happen to Cowork, is they'll absorb it. I think it's too big for them to push and buy it from Anthropic. Anthropic's too big to care about, but that's what they'll do, is because that's what's needed. That's why Copilot will win, because it's where we work. When I work in Gemini, I have to save to Drive, and then download a Word document, save it to my computer, upload it to OneDrive, change the formatting. You know what I mean? Like, when I use Copilot, I open up Word and I type in Copilot, right? I'm right there.
And it has all the context directly.
You can't compete with that, right? Now it needs to get better, right? Like, I'm not saying it's like, terrible. It stinks, but when you have that leverage, it's really hard. It's like, but Salesforce has certainly done well against that argument, right? That's why everyone said Dynamics would be the winner, because it was in Microsoft. But Salesforce, I would say, has been the leader. I mean, they've traded it back and forth over the years, but
I think it's funny that you and I come from the competing CRM sides of it. And it's so funny hearing you explain Microsoft's MO and their strategy, because it's the same playbook as Salesforce. The only difference is Salesforce will buy a product, roll it under their fold, and they'll completely ruin it. Whereas it could have been like a great product in the market by itself. They just did this with a company called Own Backup, which allows you to basically do really intuitive backups and keep versioning in your code.
Yeah, Own Backup's been around a while. They've been doing Salesforce for a while. They came over to Dynamics side. Yeah, I met those guys. They're great.
And they acquired Own Backup, and now it's what happened to Own Backup.
Salesforce bought them.
They bought them for, I think it was like one or 2 billion.
Wow. Yeah. Well, so look, there clearly is a session where me and AI over lunch have to discuss why Microsoft's going to get bought out. And then Sarah had said that the big developers went to Anthropic. That's right. There was all that news. Their top people jumped to Anthropic.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's the merit in what you're saying, because being able to have really rich context is almost like the cornerstone of having really good AI. And so Microsoft has a leg up in that, but their models are terrible, and Anthropic is just on fire right now. Even if they're like marketing strategies of, we're going to be really conservative with token consumption, whereas companies like ChatGPT are just giving you the keys to the kingdom with token consumption. And they're like, Anthropic's telling you stuff like, we're stringing you along with Fable, right? We're going to give it to you to the 19, we're going to push it again. It still just seems like everybody's, I'm an Anthropic fanboy, so that's kind of where I'm at right now, but I can still see some merit in what you're saying.
Yeah, I think Anthropic's the best. I think that would be the best play for Microsoft, is if they get just completely in the harness position and get the heck out of the way.
Yeah. I,
as an enterprise, should be able to buy Claude, install it in my network, and it work under Copilot.
Yeah.
That's the model businesses want.
And somebody mentioned, I'm not impressed with Microsoft or Salesforce's AI adoption strategy. I feel like we need to do a follow up on that specifically because
oh gosh, that would be a Saturday all day. We'll bring in lunch for that one.
Yeah. Because like Salesforce's agent force is not impressive. I just ran a poll on LinkedIn and I asked people to tell me who has real experience with agent force. Like, if you've done a real project, I'm not talking, mock stuff in a developer org, like who's actually really done it. And it's only 27% of the responses were people that have done it. And they're trying to build up this agent force product. And I think the strategy is to just let people connect their models. And they just did this, right? So it almost undercuts the new product, but it's like, they have headless available as of April.
This brings up an interesting point. So
we're gonna go on all night, aren't we?
I had a client come to me and they want to stand up an AI agent, but they want it on their CRM, which is a SaaS.
Yeah.
And you can't build a RAG model over an API. Yeah. Now you can if they're asking specific questions. Oh, when does this opportunity close, or what products are part of this opportunity, or generate a summary follow-up email based on my activity. For specific things, you're good. But you can't do a show me how we did last quarter, what accounts haven't bought products from us in the past 6 months. You can't do big queries like that over the API.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so I had to tell him, I was like, look, I could sell you this and tell you this could work, but it's not going to work. You're not going to like it. It's too limiting, blah, blah, blah. We got to figure something out. But you're bringing up a good point of, Salesforce should let people access, but even then that's not good enough. Yeah. They can't run. I can't have Claude crawling Salesforce API. Your Salesforce API is already restrictive enough for like number of calls that can be made, and then someone's gonna set up some automation in Cowork to look for every update on their opportunity and send them a Teams message. I don't know. Is Salesforce coming out with like guidelines on any of that, or?
Yeah. Well, I think that maybe that's the strategy, right? This is a way for them to upsell on API call packages. I don't know. That's the immediate thought that comes to mind when you say that. But they were so headstrong about building agent force for the last year and a half. And, it almost feels like going headless undercuts all of that work.
Yeah.
But they had to do it because it's what everybody wants, right? Too much to talk about. AI over lunch is ready to go.
I know. We're lucky I'm tired. Fine.
Well, we're definitely going to have to do some follow-ups where you and AI over lunch.
We're going to need a calendar, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think people will want to look ahead and pick topics that they'll want to hop in on. You know what I mean?
I like that.
I think that'd be cool.
Cool. Well, I know you're getting tired, my friend, and that's getting close to my bedtime as well. But thank you all for tuning in. Tom, I appreciate you sharing all your background and experience with machine learning and everything you're doing with AI. I think it's awesome, man. And I'm
likewise. I appreciate it.
Grateful to know you, man.